Hi, everybody. I'm Scott Homan. I made my first debut feature documentary called Witness Underground. It is a story that follows the exits of a number of ex-Jehovah's or of Jehovah's Witnesses as they leave their religion and what their life is afterwards. It's a nuanced story highlighting a creative passion, deep loss, and the healing power of music and filmmaking. First and foremost, it's a story that's activism for me and the people in the film. Um, I wanted to highlight humanization. I wanted to humanize the Jehovah's Witness experience and the Jehovah's Witness culture, while also highlighting the and humanizing the free thinkers who leave, um, while focusing on the exit process. The exit process is extremely unique. I mean, a lot of people go through it if they leave a faith group, or I mean, a lot of people go through it just leaving, getting kicked out of a work situation through firing that they were close to, or there's a lot of parallels, or even having a mental shift in politics or something. There's a lot of ways to relate to this, but the exit experience is really special, and it's almost always the first question someone asks. Oh, you used to be part of that religion. Why? What was the one reason that you left? And it's almost never one thing. Sometimes there's like a catalyst, or there's a straw that broke the camel's back, but it's on the top of hundreds of things, hundreds of reasons why that have been accumulating for many years for most people. That exit process and what happens after, and the shunning, that is a big part of the manipulative tool that their religion uses. And easily, they're one of the most extreme religions in the world when it comes to shunning, and it's a form of solitary confinement that we only do for our worst prisoners and our most extreme prisons. Um, Anyway, that's what the film really gets into. And on that topic, the Jehovah's Witnesses they just lost a court case in the Supreme Court in Ghent, Belgium, for shunning and its practices and its effect on society. It's considered a hate crime in Belgium now for the Jehovah's Witnesses to do shunning, and they do it always. It's mandatory. You have to shun. It's part of their control system. Everyone does it if they're a Jehovah's Witness. If they don't, they're lying. If they say they don't, they're lying. Anyway, they lost in a legitimized court, a criminal court, and that means a lot. And it's not the first time they're going to be tried for this. This is just the beginning. But the story doesn't really get into that side of it. There's a lot of films that really dive into the legal aspects of this religion, where this film actually highlights a music scene that emerged within the Jehovah's Witnesses in a few cities, and we focus on just one of them, but it was in the Great Lakes region of northern United States. Minneapolis, specifically, and Chicago were the highlights, but it also spread across rural Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Illinois, and Iowa, all the way down into Missouri with St. Louis. And everyone is connected in a really special way through a website that a Jehovah's Witness built for while he was like learning how to code in the early 90s. And he even put up the first live streaming complete album on the internet. So there's even some global history here with the early internet. It's like someone buying the first NFT right now, or making the first one or something. Well, we'll see how that goes. But we get really deep into the exit stories of those artists and show a male and female perspective and experience, and highlight the scene and what was going on in a lot of the music. There's over 30 albums that were really well produced that came out of that, and I think they recorded over 100, but a lot of that was live and just kind of goofing around and not super polished. But there's like 30 really polished albums, and that's just a like estimate. I have only gone through some of the archive. There's an entire closet filled of stuff at the studio in Minneapolis at Nuclear Gopher Studios. And Nuclear Gopher was the name of the music recording studio that was run starting out of a basement, and later branched out to not just being like a family thing in a basement, to being a much bigger thing that spread across the city, and people were recording many different locations, all under this umbrella of this one scene that was sort of like a safe space for creative people in a cult to have some kind of release and outlet. And it was really cool to actually be there for it. I got to see it kind of at the peak of it, as it really became an explosive thing that spread around the region. And I was in my second band at that time when I moved to Minneapolis. But my story, on that note, parallels theirs, and we were all contemporaries, but I was sort of an outsider. They were all like supposedly like good Jehovah's Witnesses, and I was considered very much on the fringe, even though I was like easily the most active one in my personal family. My parents weren't very active. My brothers and sisters definitely weren't. Um, I was auxiliary pioneering. Not that I'm proud of it, but that's what I was up to and working on. Even though, anyway, that's the whole thing. My story is sort of embedded in this film, but you'll never hear it in the film. It's just like it's there because of parallels, and there's certain things I really focused on because I experienced something really similar, and I didn't really want to be in the film. I'm so happy that I was able to tell the story through all these different artists who had this beautiful scene that I was able to enjoy as an audience member when I moved there and made my close friends in that group of artists and musicians for a few years while I was going to camera school. And here I am, making a movie. So maybe it all worked out in the end. But yeah, I had a very cult light experience. My dad joined when I was young and raised us. My mom sort of put up with it and never joined, never got baptized, and never participated in the preaching work, refused to get on stage. And my parents like never raised their hand to answer. And definitely none of my siblings ever did. I gave it a shot once in a while, but we were all kind of resistant and rebellious to it and just like stayed on the fringes. And I think everyone in my immediate family, that's where they were comfortable. So I didn't have the most extreme experience growing up in it. Most of my friends were not in the religion. I had skateboarding friends in high school, and I was in bands, different bands in high school. Like I played prom after party, like a Green Day, Weezer, and like a bunch of cover songs and a bunch of songs that we made, that kind of thing. So like I had this like relatively more or less average high school experience, I guess you could say. Whereas a lot of the people in our film had a much more extreme experience. So they were born in, and their family had been in for generations, and everyone's intermarried, and it's just like a very tight, close society that's super interwebbed and interconnected. And when you get cut off from that, it's very dramatic. Where for me, I was like, oh, finally, I don't have to put up with this nonsense anymore. I haven't really believed this for a lot of years. But anyway, so that's the background in a nutshell. And I just wanted to give you a brief update on kind of what this film is and where it's coming from. And I hope that if that is interesting to you, you'll check it out at the Portland Film Fest this month. It starts in a couple days on October 6th, and it runs for a full month through November 8th. There's a couple other opportunities. That's going to be in the Northwest region, and geo-blocking is a thing where you can only access the film if you happen to be in the region. And this is a whole new complicated thing that's with film festivals, and film festivals are new to me as well. It's my first film. My first year is going to film festivals, but basically what they're doing is to protect people from COVID. They've adopted in 2020 this hybrid method or this full virtual method, where film festivals were always meant to be a regional showcase, and then it would go to the next city or the next state, wherever it selected the film, and then that audience would get access to this film for one showing. And so now there's this much more wide net being cast, and that people can actually just stream it from the comfort of their own home, the safety of their own home, which is amazing because you can sell many more tickets to people's couches than you can to fixed seats in a city somewhere where there's limited parking, etc. So it's pretty great, but then it's not great for the filmmaker, unfortunately. I want everyone to see my film desperately, and I'm doing everything I can to make that happen. And this is a year and a half long process of running it through the festivals. And if you give it away on YouTube, then no one will ever distribute the film. It'll just be a YouTube film, and it will never get the publicity that it deserves. It'll never reach the audience that it deserves. And people seem to think that our film deserves a big audience, and we were just nominated and then won the award for best documentary feature at a local film or at a film festival out east near DC in Winchester, Virginia, called Genre Blast. It was an amazing experience. So they awarded us this incredible paper, and it's part of now film festival history that our film has accolades such as winning that award, and being just selected at a festival is already a huge honor. So Portland's a big deal. It's a well-known festival, and it's a really cool indie fest. And we're in 2 more festivals this month. One of them's called Peachtree Village International Film Festival out of Atlanta. So there'll be a Georgia regional viewing. And then there's another one called, and it's here in California. I have to lock it to California. And it's called Da Vinci International Film Festival. We're an honorable mention. We're not an official selection, but they're still streaming our, just means we don't get to compete. So we can't win anything there, but they want us to advertise with them and like put their label on our stuff. And they thought our film was at the level of quality that their festival is trying to uphold in their curation process. And so that's interesting. They're kind of a newer, younger festival here. And then the big deal for the year, the biggest deal for us, especially everyone involved in the film, is Sound Unseen. Sound Unseen has a Texas component to it because one of the festival directors lives in Austin, and he's big in the film festival world and the movie world. His name's Jim, can't remember his last name at the moment. Sorry, Jim. He lives there, so he's been working with Austin for many years, and they have this new virtual component. So I think all of Texas has access to watching the film at the end of the month. And the big deal for us is Sound Unseen in person in Minneapolis, which is like the culmination of everything we've dreamed of. We're having a film screen in its home city with its home audience where it belongs. And we couldn't be more excited about that. And what's amazing is they invited all the bands to play live. And so all the bands in the film, plus some special guests, which I will tell you right now, are going to be playing. We are going to start the show. We think this is the current lineup is Ryan Sutter playing with the band Awkward Bodies, but they're doing all Ryan Sutter music. And they're basically doing a rewrite of all of his most powerful or best songs. Not all, but a bunch of really like a full set worth, like 40 minutes worth of live music as a rock band. And there's going to be a couple of acoustic songs, which I'm excited about it. He played one on our podcast 6. If you go back and watch, in like 50 minutes in, he plays on his brand new surprise instrument that he bought just for this show last week. So that's really cool, little gift. And then the band High TV is highlighted in the film in a really big way. And it's sort of like this thing we get to, and we sort of arrive and land on the people in the film sort of in their real life land outside of the religion into this. They form this band, and it becomes this sort of amazing way of expressing themselves and their exits from the religion. And that's what our soundtrack we're giving away this month on XJW Patreon, XJW DOC Patreon. It's for $1. You can get that soundtrack. Anyway, their music's amazing, and they're going to play live at this show. And those two groups of people have known each other their whole lives, and they play music their whole lives. And so they're going to do a bunch of covers of a few different bands. Chloe, who's also deeply highlighted in the film in the beginning, in the transition, with Cindy as the front person in that band, and another band, the Lavone, which is Ryan and Rhett Sutter. That's like their launch band that they started as kids, teenagers, and a bunch of their songs are in the film. And so these two groups are going to like form some kind of way to play a Lavone cover or two. And there's a couple more. I hope there's a Day Trip song in there somewhere. That'd be amazing, because there's Chad and Eric both played in Day Trip. And they have I love their album. It's like, if I had to pick anything from the whole Nuclear Gopher archive, I would say Day Trip, solid cover to cover. I love that album. Form Reverse, it's called. You can listen to it on Bandcamp, I believe, and on Nuclear Gopher Vault. And then what's amazing is that, and this is, Ryan said it last week, so I'm going to say it again, Puff Puff is playing. And this is Cindy Elvendahl, who's the big female voice of the film, and her exit story and her experience with religion is highlighted in a big way. And she's like an icon and like huge core member of the Nuclear Gopher greater music community. Her band after High TV formed, or right around is contemporary with maybe, but around that time after she left religion, formed this all-female kind of riot. Maybe riot girl's the wrong word. It's like edgy, strong female vocals, distortion, powerful, lots of space for vocals, and like I don't know how to describe it. You should just go listen to Puff Puff. They're on Bandcamp as well. They're playing live, and I've never seen Ryan Sutter play. I've never seen Puff Puff play. I've never seen High TV play, and I've never seen any of these artists. I don't think I've ever seen any of them play live, and I've definitely never seen the bands that they'll be covering live. So I'm super excited to be at the show. I will be manning a camera along with 6 other people because we're filming it, and that's just we're in the planning. I guess it's pre-planning, but it's the planning stages. It's pre-production. It's a lot. So I just wanted to give you that big update and give you this intro to the film. Thanks for coming on the channel, and please sign up on the Patreon for $1. I'll send you the soundtrack immediately. Take care. I'm signing off. See you.